We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Welcome to the April 29, 2021 meeting for the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. My name is Kevin Cook. I currently serve as the chair of the Shawnee County Commission, also representing District 2. Joining me today is Commissioner Bill Rippon, representing District 1. Good morning.
It is good morning.
And Commissioner Aaron Mays, representing District 3. Good morning.
Morning.
Madam Clerk, if we could start off with our first item.
Number 3, consent agenda.
There are 3 items on the consent agenda. Is there a motion or is there other discussion?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Number 4, new business. Item A, County Clerk. Number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, this morning we have vouchers totaling $1,188,043.33. A couple highlights under that are under sales tax to McCown Gordon Construction for $686,479. That's for the Stormont Vale Event Center renovation project, which is now 93.84% complete. And then under solid waste recycling to Rerig Pacific Company for $29,975.40. This is for some new refuse carts. I don't have any questions. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Number 2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item B, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, acknowledgement and adoption is requested on the Family Park Master Plan as presented by Parks and Recreation and the team of HTK Architects, which includes Landworks Studio and Cook, Flatt, and Strobel Engineers.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Director, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. Very excited to be here this morning to talk about the Family Park Master Plan. I want to be clear about what we're asking this morning. We're asking you to review the plan that we've put together, hopefully adopt that plan, and then at a later date we'll come back and talk about funding strategies and the phasing process if we're able to move forward on the project. So before we jump into this, I want to take a minute to thank a few people. The clerk mentioned that we've had a good team, and I think that we've worked very well together, and I'm really proud of what we've been able to create, and I hope you feel the same way. I also want to thank our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. They've been very involved in this process. We've brought it to the board a number of times, virtually all of our meetings recently, but they've given us some great input, and they've really been a partner in developing what you see here today. I also want to thank a few staff members. I want to thank John Boyd, Chris Curtis, Randy Luby. Yes, Randy really worked on it, believe it or not. Olivia Mayer, Mike McLaughlin, Jeremy Myers, and Brian Toby. I'm probably missing a few, but it's truly been a team effort, and I'm proud of the work that they put into this as well. So, as you know, this process started quite a while ago. I think back really, honestly, in the spring of 2019, I think is when we first started discussing it, and it's gone through a lot of different twists and turns since then. But as I said, I'm very proud of what we've been able to create, and I think at this point I will turn it over to Zach Sneathen. He has a presentation that he'd like to lead us through, and then we'll have time to answer any questions afterwards. So thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Zach Sneathen, HTK Architects. As Tim mentioned, I too am very excited about kind of the culmination of this process for the master plan and being able to present it to you all and to the county It's an exciting project, exciting potential for Topeka and Shawnee County here. We'll reiterate just some of the comments that Tim mentioned in acknowledging everybody that has been a part of this process, that has provided input, allowed us to present stuff and get input and go back and make some revisions and come back and present and seek feedback on. In addition to everybody on this list, we had several surveys that, throughout the process that engaged the community, brought in community input from identifying some initial amenities that people would like to see in the park, as well as providing feedback. If you remember earlier in the later in the year last year, we had 3 different concepts that we went out to the public with and sought feedback on those concepts to really get us to a final plan that really encompasses a lot of the amenities that people expressed interest in throughout the process. Tim mentioned that 2019 was, or prior to that, was when really started talking about potential for Family Park, and it was really identified in that 2014 master plan, Parks and Rec master plan, where they identified creating in the plan it was called a multi-generational center in Southwest Topeka, looking at what that means, truly what that means from a multi-generational aspect as it pertains to the Parks and Rec portfolio. Talk even then about a potential for an aquatics park in that area. And as you know, the Midwest Aquatics Park, its development, that really starts to shape be the start of the Family Park development. As we talk about Family Park and as we look at all the amenities that it has to offer, that aquatics park that's existing, that's there, is a vital piece of that development of that park and the kind of the being able to appeal to a lot of different age groups, interest groups, as well as on the south end of that park is the Cypress Ridge Golf Course. And so those 2 existing amenities really bookend and complement all that the remaining 68 acres have the potential for. When we looked at, we've talked a lot about making a destination park and what does that mean to be a destination park. And as we look at the amenities that Lake Shawnee have and the amenities that Gage Park have, what are some familiar amenities that people are that like and enjoy at those parks, but what are some new amenities that maybe are new to Shawnee County, new to the region, that can attract local residents, but also attract visitors from other communities to come into Topeka to enjoy the parks. Throughout the surveys and the community input process, we heard a lot about just the walkability, being able to get out and enjoy nature, immerse yourself in nature, creating walkable but also accessible parks so that they're accessible to people of all ages. Not just, this isn't just a park for kids, but we want to be able to appeal to all generations and all ages, as well as all abilities, to be able to come in and enjoy the park. We want to be able to create a diverse park experience, so it's not just going to a park and playing on a playground, but you've got a diversity of experiences that you can have. You can play on playgrounds, you can participate in community events there. You can there's a large wooded area that will allow some nice trails, walking on different types of paths through those areas. But really looking at creating that destination park and the diversity of the experiences that a visitor can have to that park. And then lastly, just looking at, as we talk a lot about quality of life and community pride, really developing a park that everybody here is proud of, that is excited about, and becomes a destination not only for those that live right in the community and those neighborhoods right adjacent to it, but the larger Shawnee County community as well as visitors. We want to create destinations that people are attracted to, that come, as they're traveling through Topeka or traveling to this area, that they want to stop and have enjoyment in the parks. And so this master plan, it creates a roadmap for what that, we know that, and we've known from the beginning that this won't be developed overnight, but the master plan creates that roadmap, understanding of what that first phase development might look like. How do we create a park in a first phase that may have a significant impact, but then also lay groundwork for future development, be able to identify what future development might look like, as well as build support, whether it be community partners supporting, whether it be potential for financial support from grants or other financial support, but really building support around a master plan that says this is what the potential is for this park. As we looked at some major amenities that might exist in that park, we talked a lot about playgrounds and creating exciting playgrounds that appeal to kids and even adults of all ages, whether they be playgrounds that climb up and slide down, or even some kind of adventure playgrounds or kind of fitness type playgrounds that maybe are play amenities, but also build some kind of have physical activity in them. I mentioned the trails and the environment, and really looking at how do we connect all the amenities in this park through a trail network system. How does that trail network system connect into those neighborhoods that are adjacent to it, so that those residents can jump on their bikes, walk over to the park, and easily get into the park without driving over there? And how do we create kind of that diversity of trails, whether they be paved trails, whether they be single track trails that could ride a bike through the woods on, but again, that kind of diversity of walking and biking experiences that you can have. Incorporating a dog park, it's a need that that is all across the community. We've got a couple dog parks that are very active and very kind of active and full, and looking at opportunities to develop space that would be of interest, and maybe bring in some new amenities to a dog park. Maybe it's more of a kind of a natural element that maybe has some of the trees and some of the wooded areas incorporated into that dog park. We talked with members in the cycling community and looking at what are some of those amenities that might be applicable and of interest to developing at this family park. And we really honed in on kind of two major amenities, one being a kids bike park, and those are, kids bike parks are places for kids to really, a safe space where they can ride, but also develop some skills in their skills and love for bicycling in a fun and safe environment. As well as we talked a lot about a pump track, and a pump track is not a BMX track. It's usually a paved track that allows riders, and it's to kind of ride through the different moguls and through kind of without really pedaling, but just kind of building their momentum as they go through there. And the value of the pump tracks again is they can cater to kids on Strider bikes as they ride through the middle, or they can cater to more experienced riders, and it's a track that can accommodate a variety of experienced riders. The other we talked with the pickleball community about developing an area where we could have pickleball courts and potentially have tournaments there where they could bring in visitors from out of town and hold tournaments at this, but developing an area that would be that would have several pickleball courts in, as well as leaving a location on for an indoor activity center. And there's a lot of talk of what that could be. It could be basketball courts and volleyball courts like we have for in many of the community centers. There's a lot of interest in ice hockey, potential having ice hockey in that activity center. But really, as part of the master plan, it's really looking at it as a considering it an indoor activity center. As part of the plan. And then just mentioning those two existing amenities that really shape the experience of or add to the experience of the park, that being the Aquatic Center, Midwest Health Aquatic Center that is there, and then the Cypress Ridge Golf Course. So when we were back in February and we presented this, this looks very similar or familiar in terms of the different amenities that are in the park. And as you see through that, on the right-hand side, right-hand corner is where the aquatics park is. And then down on the south bottom of the screen is where the golf course is to help you orient yourself, and 21st and Urish Road. That treed area through the middle is that natural area that I talked about, and we really, through conversations, we talked about being able to maximize that. Almost some of the advisory board members mentioned there's really 3 parks in one out here by being able to have that kind of that natural area that exists through the middle, and those experiences that can be had walking on trails through that area and connecting. It's big that we connected all these aspects via trail networks, so that if somebody was driving to it, they could drive to one end of the park and be able to walk through with trails and connect throughout the park. Up on the start up on the left-hand corner there, it'd be the northwest corner of the site. That's the area envisioned for the indoor activity center and associated parking. Directly south of there, the 2 bike amenities, the pump track and the kids bike park, with expansion and ability to build in further trail systems as you go further south in that area. Moving back up on the kind of to the right of the activity center, area planned for a dog park, where we look at having kind of 3 distinct areas that, as I mentioned, kind of connect into that natural area, but having a dog park that is accessible to residents in this area. That natural area, and then as you come over to where the aquatics park is, and then south of there, really utilizing a lot of that existing parking lot that's there as the kind of the access for really all those amenities on the east side there, to really double use that parking lot, so we're not building additional parking for that. But kind of that purple and yellow area in there is that kind of big destination playground aspect of it, and then on the other side of that, having a fitness playground, and then some pickleball courts that fall along the far east edge of the site. And then in the middle, this aspect of a great lawn, a place where you could have active kind of festivals, music festivals. We envisioned where you might be able to pull up the stage, the mobile stage, on that south end, and have a festival, music festival out there. And then down on the far south end, as we talked through this with staff and kind of learned about learned about the golf course, and it really identified some of the needs that clubhouse has, that course has. We talked about how could possibly Family Park support that improvement of the Cypress Ridge Golf Course, and we looked at bringing in the far southeast corner there, bringing a clubhouse up that would support the golf community, but also provide a clubhouse and activity center or event center for open to anybody in the county as a kind of rental space, event space. But developing a clubhouse with some minor reorienting of the golf holes. We can kind of reconfigure the start and stop points of the golf course to be able to come off of this point to be the start and ending of the golf course, as well as developing a larger driving range in this area along the south end of the park. Lastly, the other piece that is kind of a feature of this park is that connecting parkway that runs through, that you see weaving through the park there, kind of midway. It provides drive access to the different parking lots, the new parking lots that would be developed, but also provides vehicle access throughout the park for visitors as well as emergency vehicles and the like. Nextly, I'll we have in this plan share some imagery. These are still conceptual images, but start to share the flavor of the park, what that might look like. As we look at destination playgrounds, they're not your everyday playgrounds that you see that we have in the parks, but they're kind of a next level up in terms of custom designed. This is just a concept of what that could be, but custom designed, very exciting and sought after play amenities. Incidentally, I was just recently in the Meadowbrook Park in Kansas City, where they have a big kind of destination playground, and the weather was fairly cool, but there was a lot of people out there out enjoying the playground. Oh, and I didn't mention also, in the process we learned that there's a lot of interest in kind of natural playground areas as well, and looking at blending the natural environment into the play environment and what that might look like. This is to orient you. This is on just on the east edge of that treat area. You can see in the background the indoor activity center, and then on the left is the kids bike park area and pump track. But really looking at a natural playground that maybe includes some natural features of rocks and terrain, some climbing rope type structures, but blending that into the natural area of the park. This is kind of looking at from that southeast corner, overlooking the clubhouse area, looking up towards. You can see the aquatics park and actually the fire station that's there. But looking out, and you can really start to see the treat areas that also exist within this park, and creating areas that are just natural areas that people can go out and enjoy and kind of overlook and be in nature. This is back around on the pump track areas. And then back around to the other side of the Great Lawn in the middle there, and the fitness playgrounds in the foreground there, and then that parking lot that you see to the right is that existing parking lot that's built for the aquatics park there. So those are just some images that start to give you the flavor of what that park looks like, and we can't be without looking at what the cost would be for this park. And as we've talked all along, we know that we wanted to, at the outset, recognize that we want to look at this as a whole. What is the potential for this whole park to be, knowing that it will be developed over time and in phases, but developing that framework for this is what the entire park would cost, and then starting to the next steps that we're working through with staff is really looking at what does that first phase look like? How do we create the infrastructure that's necessary in a first phase, but also create enough of an impact so that it is, we didn't just put in parking lots and roads and utilities and say that's first phase, but creating enough of an impact in that first phase to really to make this a destination and get people excited about it, as well as using it to kind of leverage and identify other sources of funding. We've talked about some grant opportunities and foundation opportunities that exist out there to help supplement that development. So that's the presentation, and I would also like to share, we've developed a little fly around that really shares shows, kind of gets you into the experience of the park. I will share. Let it play. So that gives you just a little flavor of what the potential is for that park, and we'll cancel this before we go on to another video. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions or for Tim or I.
Yeah, well, hold on one second before we jump into questions. I want to back up for just a second because I mentioned the advisory board and how much they've been involved, but I failed to mention that Terry Roberts is here with me today. Terry is the chair of the board. And Terry, if you'd like to come up and say a few words, I think I'd love to. This would be the appropriate time.
Really? Okay, good. I'll tell them what we did. So I'm Terry Roberts, and I'm the chair of the Shawnee County Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. And you may know that we have some very opinionated, strong-willed individuals who serve on that committee. But during this very long and sometimes contentious process over the past year, we have received reports every time they went through a new phase of trying to get the family park to where we are today. And so I just wanted to tell you a little bit about that in short order. We've had extensive discussions, and all of our advisory committee members have participated. In this particular one, we asked everyone for their opinion. Not always is that the case, but everybody had to come prepared to give us their opinion about the final master plan. Through the process of all the other revisions, they took into consideration what we said. So we called this one 2.5 because we were given 5 options, and the group, the advisory committee looked at it, and after they reviewed what we call development option 2, there was a belief that the destination park kind of call sign was important. And the kids aspect as well as the multi-generational aspect. So the advisory committee, they were kind of torn between a couple things in what we call option 3. And the 2 items that they went back and brought in to what you now see, is the pump track, the bicycle pump track, and the kids' bike park. So those were added after fairly extensive discussion about all the amenities that we were shown in option 2. We also had public input over time. Of course, the pickleball, and Eldana's here, and we've talked to her and listened to her and her group. I did want to point out that they supported the 16 courts, but they preferred the 20 court version. So in our final recommendation, we did we made a motion that they would include in the final master plan the place in case we would ever want to build 4 more additional courts. Now, those courts would have cost an additional $200,000. And part of our discussion with them was, they've always, yes, there's been an increase in participation. We just redid Hughes for the community, but they wanted to be able to offer an opportunity for larger tournaments. So we did have discussions about that, and we said, well, how did they do it in other places? And when it came to us, that information, we're fairly confident with Hughes, with the 16 courts, and should we create enough demand that in other places like Colorado Springs, which we were informed about, they actually remarked temporarily their major tennis courts, which we could do for crossover to accommodate. So we had that discussion about, and that was one of the things why we stayed with the 16 courts as opposed to going to the 20 courts, okay? But there was thoughtful discussion on that. Additionally, we had questions about the connection to the neighborhood, and there is a way to connect to that neighborhood, which is a fairly large neighborhood, probably, with children and others to come, and they have access. The dog park was another issue. That's been identified. We're having discussions now about where we're going to put another dog park in the rest of the city, and what we need to do to improve the one at Gage. So the only comment that we received about the dog park was that the north side of it was on 21st, which is a lot of traffic. So that was the only expressed concern. I'm sure there's things that can be done to mitigate any kind of dogs jumping over the fence or getting out into the road. Throughout our discussion and review of the parks, the advisory committee members did share their constituents' opinions about, and this has been a long haul type of discussion, that we have unmet needs of parks in the city, okay? Maintenance needs, playground equipment at the parks. We've tried to upgrade those in the neighborhood parks and continue to make that a priority for our children. And they then, of course, expressed concern because now amidst all this, we had, as you know, the acquisition of the station. So there was concern about, are they going to have enough money to run the Overland Station? Are they going to have enough money to maintain it? Are they going to have enough money for the new park? Are they going to have enough money to do their park now? So I would be remiss if I did not tell you that was brought up. Things like, well, we haven't even finished the Gage Park Master Plan. Those comments came from the community and were expressed by our advisory committee members. The golf course, one of we did see that the golf course, and we looked at the money related to the golf course. We understand that golf course has some unmet needs, and it's really old. I personally have gone there trying to find out how old it was. There are things that do need some attention. But when we looked at the money and looked at what needed to be done, the advisory committee probably landed on these amenities and this is a destination park to meet the greater community need, okay? Not that the golfers aren't important, but when you have a limited amount of money, you have to make some sort of priorities, and it was based on that they went with the option, what we call 2.5. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about the input from that. I would probably be remiss to tell you that not everybody's going to be happy, and that you're going to get some pushback. And as you know, you got pushback before over just the bond issue. So I think that we've heard that is still out there. That doesn't get lost on you all. You're public officials and you're elected to make those tough decisions. Thank you.
Any questions for Terry, Zach, or Tim about the presentation?
Terry, were there aspects of this that the advisory board fell in love with?
Thank you. Probably, and they did a great job. So, I guess when you have to go out and survey this big, wide acreage, the natural part was very impressive, that they examined that and thought we could keep it so that part of the nature, so that people could walk into the park, the trees and everything, that we could retain that. So they did like that. They liked the advisory committee liked the fitness playground. We went back and forth on the bike trail, but they felt like they needed a calling card for it, so they went with the bicycle pump track. And if I remember correctly, the closest bicycle pump track is in St. Louis?
No, there's actually one in the KC metro area,
Okay.
a small
Yep.
one, but
Yeah.
After that, it's in Arkansas. I
Yeah.
believe. That's close.
St. Louis and Arkansas. So they thought those were important drivers to get people for support. So.
Commissioner Rippon?
I've always thought this is a great location for a community park, and we have an area of town that really is void of anything like this. All of our other community parks are located more central, and we have North Topeka, South Topeka. We pretty much covered the map except for West Topeka, and we literally have thousands of houses out there. I don't know how many kids, and really nothing like this. I have been to the park that Zach referenced earlier, this Meadowbrook Park in Prairie Village, and it's amazing park. They recently took an old golf course and turned it into a community park. And I've talked to their park planner over there, and he said, I said, what would you do different? And he said, a bigger parking lot. And that's a good problem.
I'm glad that you said that, because that was one of our discussion items, Commissioner Rippon, was the parking lot. And the group thought that we had right now with the plan, it looks like an adequate parking, okay? Because you're not going to be able to go out on the west side and park. So if we would need more parking, they would have to install more parking beside what's planned.
Yeah. Well, and I think it takes advantage of an existing parking lot that's, let's
does.
face it, it's not used
Yes.
year-round. It's a pool.
Yeah.
And you look at almost all of our pools in Topeka, they're in a community park. And so it's a great setting. It's a great catalyst for having a park, as well as the golf course. It's anchors for this park. And so we kind of already have a built-in number
Right.
of users that will be at this park. and
That
use
is
it.
correct. And you're right, it is unused county property. So it is a viable option to use it in this way.
We've eyed this as a community park for as long as I've been around. They've been talking about
That's a
this.
long time. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But no, I think its time has come, so,
Well,
thank you
thank
very
you.
much. Thank you for the advisory board for all the work you put into this and all your input. That's good. You know, it was a difficult year to get input, so it was.
It was. We
you
had
know,
to
when
have
you-
our meetings
when-
by
when you-
Zoom.
We couldn't have the normal design charrettes that we were
Right.
used to having, and
Right.
to do this via, you know, some kind of
Right.
Zoom meeting, almost kind of setup, it's not ideal. So the advisory board gave us a good place to have those discussions and make decisions. So I appreciate all that. So thank you, Terry.
Tim, I would probably echo very much the comments of Commissioner Rippon, and to Terry, if you could take back the advisory board, all of our appreciation for the hard work and the discussion that goes into this, and having this vetted through, and that has been a great asset to the Parks and Recreation Department, is having a community of constituents and public that are coming together to kind of vet out. And I think that what we see in the master plan is a well-thought-through, well-vetted through, comprehensive plan. Now, that being said, I think that we do have to have a bit of realism here, that it took us over 100 years to develop Gage Park to what it is today. And I think that it would be unrealistic for us to think that with the flip of a switch, the family park will look like the master plan next year. Especially when we consider that that has a $30 million estimated construction cost. And as we well know, construction costs can change with the economy and changing needs. Recently, I was going back through and I found our family adventure park for Lake Shawnee Adventure Cove master plan. And just looking at some of the things that it developed and talked about, including zip lines. And while we've accomplished many of the tasks at Lake Shawnee Adventure Cove, not all of them have come to fruition. And some of them we may wind up passing on. There may not be zip lines at Lake Shawnee at some point in the future. We may decide that we want to do something different. And so I think that it's important to recognize that a master plan is just that. It's a plan for the planned growth, but those plans are not so static that they can't change and they can't grow with what the needs of the community are. And I just finally would share, I do support the concerns of some of the advisory board members with our unfinished projects. Adventure Cove still sits as an almost finished project. Dornwood Park is a almost finished project. We do have community centers that we've been looking at renovating and updating. We finished with Hillcrest, looking at Oakland and the Oakland Community Center, the Oakland Pool, and what we would do there, maintaining of our current Parks and Rec. And so this kind of has to fit in with what we're already doing. I don't want the public to believe that we're dumping or neglecting those current obligations to pursue something new. And I just want to make sure that it's clear that we are still supporting the entire county and the entire community. What often emerges is the West gets everything and no one else gets anything. And so just kind of stressing that we are continuing to support Parks and Rec, and it does cover the entire county. So those are just kind of some initial thoughts.
Yeah.
And Tim?
Yeah, Terry has another comment she'd like to make, but before she speaks, I just want to say real briefly that I think that you worded that very well. I think that we started out the meeting saying this is a long-term project, it'll be done in phases. And you're right, what we've done today, there may be changes down the road, but those changes will be transparent. They'll be brought to before this committee, this board, and because ultimately we are stewards of the taxpayer dollar, and so we want to make these decisions in a very transparent way, in a very thoughtful way. So, yes, Terry, go ahead.
So, Commissioner Cook, I don't think I can let this pass since you brought it up, but the advisory committee has identified kind of a 4 or 5 point plan that we need to look at and examine all the community centers, the effectiveness of them, the maintenance that they need, the programmatic activities that they're doing, and other things. And we want to do that in a very systematic way. So we've contacted Washburn University to help us look at how do we do that. And I did want you to know that that is our next project. We have a smaller project ahead of it, but then that's our next project to look at in terms of an assessment of our community centers and, how they're meeting the needs of our community. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
So I think that just goes to prove the point that you were trying to make, is that we're, in no way, by developing this project in West Topeka, are we going to stop trying to make the improvements to the rest of our system. We understand the importance of that, as, obviously, as someone who's spent a long time in the Parks and Recreation field, I'm a little biased, but I believe that Parks and Recreation builds communities. And you can only do that if you're spreading out the wealth, if you're making sure that you're hitting every corner of Topeka. And believe me, that's something that we talk about almost on a daily basis, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? I know that we do have a number of the public present, and I would like to open it up at this time for public comment. If you could come up, and when you do come up, please state your name, or so that our clerk can record it.
I'll make one more comment. We have a little flyer that we'll hand out that has a link to that video. It has a QR code on it. Jackie has it in the back there, and if you're
All right.
interested in it, you can have a little flyer that will get you into that link there.
Thank you, Zach.
Is it permissible to remove that? Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Ty Dragoo. I live at 3741 Southwest Kings Forest Road. I believe I was in Commissioner Rippon's district, but now I think I'm in Commissioner May's district. So I represent Topeka ICE here today. Topeka ICE is an advocacy group that's been formed for really the last 15, 20 years, advocating to have a permanent sheet of ice in Shawnee County. We are so excited about this final master plan and the possibility of the event center having that sheet of ice. We have some advocates here that are from the community that are going to speak briefly, and then I'll circle back and talk about what it is we see going forward. But as I listened to the presentation, I heard things like public-private partnerships, destination parks, single event spaces that are significant to the community that you don't already have. A sheet of ice meets all those needs, and Topeka ICE is that private partnership that you guys could be looking for. We've raised almost $100,000. We really want to be a good partner in this, and we're hoping that as you start to work your way through this, you see that stretch of road there and that partnership that we could work with you on. So with that, I'll turn it over. Jason, Michelle, did you want to go? Okay.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Curtis, and I'm here representing the Topeka Adult Hockey League. And we're very much in support of the Topeka Ice Initiative to build a community rink. Since we lost our ice in 2019, many of us have been having to travel to St. Joe and Kansas City to play. And because of that, we've lost about half of our players that live west of Topeka. Unfortunately, the commute is just too much for them. So I'll tell you a little bit about the Topeka Adult Hockey League. We started in 2009, and we average about 62 players every season. About 30% of our players come from outside Shawnee County. Emporia, Wamego, Manhattan, Junction City, Holton, Meriden. These are just a few places that our players come from. We do have a significant demographic from Fort Riley. About 25% of our players come from Fort Riley. A lot of those guys and girls are from the north, and they know how to play hockey, and this is the closest area for them to play. And then we do have a few players like myself from the 190th. We do like to partner with local businesses. Many of our sponsors are local establishments. Some of them in the past have been The Office, Glory Days Pizza, Tailgaters, Bullfrogs, and most recently in 2019, Vikings Grill sponsored our team. We do make a commitment to meet at those establishments at least twice during our season as a team with our jerseys, and it's also a great opportunity for us to recruit new players. Our league fees cost about $400 each per player per season, and that brings in about $24,000 to the league. Those fees cover our jersey, a little bit of our jerseys, some miscellaneous expenses, our referees, but mostly the ice rental time. There is also another adult league, religious organization out of St. Mary's that rents ice for their organized play as well. Some other opportunities that a community rink could bring to the adult hockey community are tournaments, and then stick and puck play, which is like practice time, or learn to play hockey, learn to skate opportunities. For an example, this weekend, there's a tournament in Kansas City that's hosting 27 teams. We're sending 2 teams to that tournament this weekend, but that's something that a community ice rink here could offer us. If there was a community rink here, we already have written and verbal commitments from 2 organizations out of Omaha. And then there's another organization affiliated with USA Hockey called Warriors Hockey. And there is a Kansas City Warriors team that is disabled veterans. And it could be an opportunity for us to have one of those teams here. And that's all I have from the Topeka Adult Hockey League. If you have any questions.
Any questions? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Jason Simonson. I've been an activist for ice sports here in Kansas and in Topeka since its inception, back with the original team at the Expo Center. I believe that Topeka could utilize and would utilize a ice facility, not only for hockey, but also for figure skating. Mr. Dragu and I would like to start the first Topeka curling club. There are some in Kansas City, St. Louis, and around the region that we would like to be involved with. I'm one of the people who travel, like so many of us, to Kansas City with our children. It is estimated, based on the adult players that Michelle referenced and the youth players that I know that started here in Topeka, that we are losing approximately $460,000 a year to Kansas City in expenses that we go there, spend our money there because we're there. And in return, half of that amount is what we're losing by them not coming here to spend money in Shawnee County to help give back to a facility such as this. We think it would be a great venture and partnership between our group as well as the county to put a facility in to add to the quality of life here in Shawnee County. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Simonson.
We have one more. They're out in the waiting room. We have standing room only for this, so that's great. Come on in, Gary.
Commissioners, thank you very much for allowing me to come here this morning. I have a pamphlet if you'd like to see it. I'll
Bring them up.
Can I bring it up?
Yep. Then I'll pass one to the clerk.
If you could state your name too for the record, that would be good.
I'm a little bit more long-winded this morning, all the seasonal allergies. So. My name is Gray Bothwell, born and raised here in Topeka, Auburn, Shawnee County area. On the first page I have there is just a picture to get the attendance. These are all kids. This was in TK Magazine in 2019 for an article. I'm assuming this was for a field trip. So we have a lot of kids here that come in, they're excited to play hockey. A little bit of quick history, some of you know, but I'll just kind of reference a little bit about it. February 23rd of 1998 was a big day for us. Shawnee County Commissioners signed a 5-year contract to bring ice hockey to Topeka, Kansas. In June 10th of 1998, construction began to install an ice rink at Landon Arena. And October 16th, 1998, Topeka Scarecrows played their first ever game to 7,777 seats, and it was sold out. A little bit about myself. My name is Gray Bothwell. I'm 38 years old. My wife, Kristen, I have one son named Liam. He's 8 years old. He's sitting outside right now. We love hockey. Now just a little bit more, so you get a little bit more personal with me. In 1998, I was 15 years old, and I heard we were going to have hockey come to Topeka. Have never been ice skating before, let alone on the ice parade. I convinced my grandparents to drive me to Kansas City to purchase the equipment needed to play. The first time ever ice skating was on a Sunday at a public skate here in Topeka before the first ever practice that was on that following Wednesday. I'd never done this before, but I wanted to try, and my grandparents fulfilled that dream. So we have a group here, it's called Topeka Youth Hockey Association. It was created to provide a safe and fun environment for the youth of the community to play hockey. It created opportunities for youth to build relationships with others, along with teamwork skills, leadership skills, a long list of other positives, and a lifelong love for the sport. In 2019, the last year, the youth hockey was in Topeka, with Topeka pilots leaving to another city. The now Stormont Vale Event Center would no longer provide ice for youth hockey. Topeka Youth Hockey Association contacted the management group at the time. It was the Expo Center to see about future available ice. They were told there would not be any available ice and the equipment would not be sold or moved to another location to have available ice for the youth and the community. With the increased number of events at the Stormont Vale Event Center and not having an anchor or a hockey team to keep ice in the arena, there would no longer be ice available for youth and the community for the foreseeable future. With no available ice, families were forced to either commute back and forth to Kansas City 3 to 4 times a week or quit altogether due to increased costs and increased time needed to stay committed. Some of the increased costs would be travel for fuel, food, hotels, and just the overall time. We were part of a group called the Kansas City Youth Hockey Association. There are 6 different locations. There are Kansas City, Missouri, the Carriage Club, Independence, Missouri, the Junior Mavs, Line Creek, which is North Kansas City, Missouri. They are the Saints. That's where my son plays. Shawnee, Kansas, are the Stars, which is the KCIC Center. St. Joe, Missouri, are the Griffins, and us, of course, at the time was the Expo Center. There's several age groups. There's 8U, 10U, 12U, 14U, 16U, and 18U, and there's also select teams and travel teams. These are all groups that each one of these locations in Kansas City provide for their youth. At each age level, there are multiple teams at each location. Depending on the team, they consist of boys or girls or a combination of both. No matter the team, the teamwork, leadership, communication, respect every player shows to each other is remarkable. Everyone is at the same level. They see each other the same, and most of all, they're having fun. Now, all the pictures that we have in here are all local, except for a few of them that came from Kansas City, and that was during when we go to our games for my son. The next page, which is a misprint on there, there are actually 2 high school hockey leagues. There's the Midwest High School Hockey League and the Mid-America High School Hockey League. The Midwest one has 3 divisions and 16 high school teams across 4 states, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, and Iowa. And the Mid-America High School Hockey League has 11 high school teams across 4 states, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. The picture that's on there is the Omaha Lancers, and they were actually the 2021 high school national champions. So just right down the street, we're providing some good kids, and they're doing really well. So I'm going to go through a little bit of information, just kind of about why kids should play hockey, and this is to kind of tell you the benefits and then also some of the negatives of having to travel. Why your kids should play hockey. Exercise. Hockey is one of the best cardiovascular games you can play. It has interval training. A lot of times when the kids are on the ice, they're not stopped unless they're sitting on the bench. So you're going at a fast pace and then you're going at a resting pace. Gross motor skills. Regularly playing helps the child develop these skills. This leads to improvement of difficult fine motor skills, hand-eye coordination, which results in better understanding of spatial relationships. It also creates strength, something every child will benefit from in whatever he or she chooses to do. Stronger muscles improve endurance and create stronger bones. Playing hockey burns calories. Many children are facing obesity problems, diabetes as a result of the foods they consume today. Playing hockey 1 to 2 times a week can offset those foods. It will also give them energy and desire to go outside instead of laying on the couch. And most importantly, for me and with my son, hockey improves mental agility. Hockey is a fast sport. Plays develop in seconds. A child will develop and improve his or her ability to make quick decisions. Concentration is improved and developed, and this will help not only on the ice but in school along with real-life scenarios. It creates mental imagery. Adults also use mental imagery to achieve these goals. And hockey builds character. Children who play learn the value of working with others. They figure out how to rely on teammates and understand that cooperation is key to success. This encourages trust, responsibility, and sportsmanship, and these lessons extend into adulthood. The next picture is a picture of my son's team. Half of the kids on that picture are from Topeka. They played here in 2019, except for one of them. He is now, he just turned 4 years old, and this is his first year. So we commute back and forth 3 to 4 times a week. Let's see here. Most of the teams in Kansas City area have at least one or more players commuting from Topeka and from the farther west of Topeka. The constant traveling back and forth multiple times a week does take a toll not only for the parents of the players, but the players themselves. Traveling long distances for youth sports creates early mornings, long nights, and inconsistent eating and sleeping. Some side effects include stress, irritability, lack of sleep, poor eating habits, and lower academic performance. So what I'm promoting here today and stuff is let's bring them home. Building a permanent indoor ice rink facility here in Topeka, Shawnee County community would be a blessing to the community. Number one, our kids and families would get to be home more often. Family members whom otherwise were unable to travel to watch would now have a better opportunity to. Plus, it would be creating a safe environment for all youth and creating a safe environment for all youth and adults will always be a must. Benefits of the permanent facility: this creates more opportunities for the youth in our community. It gives the ability to expand hockey for youth in the surrounding school districts. Ability to host tournaments, summer camps, school field trips, private events, birthday parties, other sports activities, and ice sports. It also keeps the money here in the community. It brings money into the community as well when outsiders come in for those tournaments or just coming to play a daily game. So we got hotels, restaurants, shopping, and fuel. A standalone facility would not. A standalone facility would allow for dedicated ice, not competing with other non-ice activity events. Would give us more consistent time for practice and games. We'd have longer seasons and the capabilities to offer new ice activities and events. And it would be more appealing for a potential hockey team to come here, back to the capital city. I'm gonna jump on the more consistent time for practice and games with the youth, including the adult leagues and other ice activities. There was a very limited time when we were at the Expo Center. And we would go to where we'd have maybe one practice a week, sometimes every other week. And then there'd be a period in January and in February where we would have nothing at all because of major events that were coming to the now Stormont Vale Event Center. So looking, my vision is I'd like to expand the youth hockey if we can get a permanent facility built here. We have a lot of school districts here: 501 district, Auburn, Washburn, Hayden, Seaman, Shawnee Heights, Silver Lake, Rossville, and there are a couple other private school districts. So I apologize if I missed any of them. But don't forget also Washburn University. KU has a club team, and I know that we can get Washburn on board, except to have a club team here as well. My personal out-of-town purchases: my family travels back and forth to Kansas City 3 to 4 times a week. We go to Lion Creek, which is North Kansas City, Missouri. Financially, it turns into us spending $400 to $500 a week just on normal spending, and that's out of town. If we were playing multiple games or staying the night, the dollar amount skyrockets for hotel stays, shopping, and restaurants. On that, my son just turned 8 December 29th and stuff, and he plans on playing as long as he can. So if he stays here until college and plays for the next 10 years, we're looking at spending just my family alone well over $100,000. And I'd like to bring that here to the community. Looking to the future, right now, I think we need to move forward with a design and construction. I have an ambitious goal, and I'd like to open a permanent facility in the fall of 2022. I know that sounds crazy, but Washburn University just built a $20+ million facility, multi-sport, in less than a year and a half. Every day that passes is one more miss to provide our youth and community the opportunity. The 5-year goal after opening day, I'm hoping to have 2 teams at each age level: 8U, Squirt, Pee Wee, Bantam, and 4 teams at the high school level. And I'd like to see a Washburn University club team. 10-year goal: youth hockey becomes a staple in the Topeka Shawnee County community, is loved by all and would be supported, and I'd hopefully look at future expansion. There's an article in USA Hockey, and it was called "The 10 Reasons to Try Hockey." And I'll just read them out real quick. It says, it builds confidence, teaches kids to fly, and what they're referencing is by kids flying across the ice when they're gliding and skating. It builds mental agility. The rinks are warmer than you think. It teaches persistence. Hockey is for everyone. Develops social skills. Screening the goalie is better than screen time. Increase physical literacy, and you can play for a lifetime. And I added reason number 11. In that picture at the very beginning, those are all kids. We owe it to them to give each and every one of them the opportunity to be on ice. Also in that article, in another article, there was, I'm not sure who said it, but there was a saying that said, we pride ourselves on developing hockey players who are good teammates and valued contributors to their community. And the last page I have here is a picture of my son. This is after he got his trophy this past year when we were playing in Kansas City. And I put in there, this is why we do it, to be able to provide our kids with more opportunities for them to have a brighter future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. So in interest of keeping this short, I know time is pressed. That's what we're here to respectfully ask. As you consider this proposal, you've heard input from all these groups. You have high school youth leagues, active veterans, active military, adult leagues. The ability to have rented out figure skating events. It's really a year-round opportunity with a full-time sheet of ice in this location. So we ask to be partners in this. If there's anything we can bring to the table and help you in deciding this and moving forward, we're certainly ready and willing to help. And I think the most important thing you need to take away from this discussion, this body that you see here, it's the only way I'll ever become an Olympic athlete. So that really is the most important thing for me during this. If there's any questions, I'll stand for them, but really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Todd. Any questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Well, that concludes our presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Before I let you, is there anyone else that wants to add any other public comment?
Good morning, Kathy Hopek. I just had a question for maybe the advisory committee. I know they were talking about an event center at the new park, and I'm wondering how many event centers are there in Topeka presently, and is this something that we need another one of? Because I just wonder how many of them are actually being utilized, and we just put a new one in at Gage Park. I'm not opposed to it. I'm just wondering if it's that actual part of the park needs to be done.
Well, this really isn't a question time as much as it's a comment time. And so if your comment is that we would evaluate the event centers and whether or not there's a need for an event center, that's something that I think would be a prudent question for the board to look at, as well as take back to the advisory board and Parks and Rec. But,
Okay, however you want to phrase it,
Right.
but other times we've been able to ask him questions, so thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Dalton Gillum, and this is just some things that have affected me with wanting an ice rink. I know my attire is not as formal as it probably should be standing up here, but this is a jersey nobody's seen in a while, being the first team that we had as the Topeka Scarecrows. And as my life as a kid, that was the first game that I ever saw was the inaugural season game of the Topeka Scarecrows, and that shaped me to be who I am as a person, now as an adult, and the hockey player that I am now. As a kid, I went through all the different, tryouts and playoffs and everything that we did, and traveled in teams, and those are some of the best moments of my life, and some of the best things that I can ever do, and that I would love to install into my family later on as the year goes by, or years go on, and I would love to spend that in Topeka. Just as, for instance, tomorrow I'll be traveling to Kansas City to be playing ice hockey up there because we don't have ice here. And with that, there's actually a group of us that are going up there. And as was stated before, the time in travel, gas money, hotels, food, all of that could be spent back here in Topeka. And just things that really mean a lot to me. This sport has become a lot of my life and what I do and who I've become, especially even being a real estate agent. A lot of things that I learned as a kid in hockey on quick thinking and problem solving and things like that have developed into my professional life as well. So I believe that having a permanent ice rink would be something very beneficial to our community, not as even more so than just monetarily. I believe that it will be better for the youth growing on in Topeka and making this a place that people want to stay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, Tim? Tim, as it relates to the event center, is there the possibility for looking at the ice rink or ice being at that facility?
Yeah, and I think we have had those discussions, and that's been part of the idea of including an activity center in the plan. It could be a sheet of ice, it could be basketball courts. I think we need to decide, we'll need to do, quite honestly, some more work on that. We'll need to do some cost-based analysis on what it would cost to build the sheet of ice and what we think the return would be, and as compared to other things that might happen there. I applaud the folks that have come here today and spoke about ice, and they're clearly passionate about it, and those are my kind of people. You know, I mean, that's what we do in Parks and Recreation, whether it's ice or any other sport. So I appreciate them coming and talking about it today. And it is definitely something that we have discussed, and I imagine will continue to be a point of discussion as we move forward.
Thank you, Tim. Any other questions?
Real quick, just to kind of piggyback on that, so the cost that we saw in the master plan, the estimated cost for the activity center, that did not include any ice. That's just the building itself.
Correct. That is
And
correct.
Did that also include the parking lot associated with that building?
There is cost for the parking lot in that, and that's in that breakdown.
Okay.
But yes, if we were to put ice in and the equipment that goes with ice, that would add to that. But, you know, that's, I don't want to single out ice either. I mean, if we put in a basketball court or something else, there's going to be associated costs with whatever we do inside there.
Okay, appreciate that.
That fair to say?
Commissioner Rippon, anything else?
No, I don't have anything at this time.
Okay. At this time, is there a motion regarding the master plan?
Should we ask one more time if anyone else
All right.
wishes to speak?
I will. Going one more time, any public comment?
All right.
All right. Is there a motion?
Get a motion over here.
I'll move that we acknowledge and adopt the master plan.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item.
Item C, County Councilor. Number 1, consider approval of request to reappoint the Shawnee County Sport Committee to review and evaluate the needs of the county for the new American Rescue Plan Act funds.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joni Thadani, Assistant County Counselor. I'm here this morning, as was mentioned by the clerk, for the reappointment of the Shawnee County Spark Committee. The Spark Committee was originally appointed back in June to look at and assess the receipt of CARES Act funds. Coming up here pretty quick, probably within the next few weeks, we are going to be receiving another round of funding from the American Rescue Plan Act. And so I would ask the Commission to consider reappointing the same committee to do a similar action that they did with the first round of funds, and reappoint the committee to move forward with the assessment of the funds, determining how it's going to be used, what the priorities of the county are going to be, and how we might assess that throughout the community as well.
Are there any questions for Ms. Thadani?
Only
Commissioner
question is, has everybody agreed that they wanted to do that?
I did send out an email to everybody, and a majority of the committee members were silent.
Okay.
But I take
All
that
right.
as acquiescence that they're going to accept their appointment.
Well, please let us know if anyone resigns.
Is there then a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item.
Number 5, administrative communications.
This is an opportunity for any member of the public or department head to address the commission on any item.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Sutton, Shawnee County Solid Waste. This Saturday is May 1st, and that means it is our Saturday collection event out at Household Hazardous Waste. Location is 131 Northeast 46th Street. They take all your household hazardous waste as well as any electronic waste free of charge. Only charge is for CRT monitors, small fee associated there. For more information, feel free to call 286-4381. And again, it's from 9 until noon, and no paint sales on this Saturday collection event. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Bill.
Tim Laurent, Director, Parks and Recreation Department. I don't want to steal the thunder here of a couple of commissioners, but today at 3 o'clock we'll be doing the Citizens Potawatomi Nation will be dedicating some interpretive signs at Skyline Park, at the entrance to Skyline Park and Burnett's Mound. So the public is welcome, and hope folks can come out and look at these signs and learn a little bit of history while they're there. So thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. In 1984, President Ronald Reagan announced the first week of May as the National Correctional Officers Week. And in quoting President Reagan, he said, historically, corrections officers have been viewed as guards occupying isolated and misunderstood positions in both our jails and in prisons, that this important work by our correctional staff often does not receive, the public support that it deserves. Obviously, you just don't see very much except what you see on TV when it comes to corrections. But President Reagan said, we take this opportunity this week to acknowledge and thank the men and women who work in our jails across the country. This year, National Correctional Officers Week will begin May 2nd through May 8th, and we'd like to recognize our corrections staff. We are working with the Health Department because we will be putting our staff appreciation event at the end of the month. We're just waiting for a little bit better weather, and then just waiting to see if there's going to be any more guidelines and things like that. This is something we do out of our own pocket for the administration. We don't use taxpayers' money, and it's just a small gesture of thank you to our staff. And I just wanted to say that we recognize our staff, and it's not just the officers, but it is everybody that we deem as essential staff. So I just wanted to make that's important for me to stand up and in front of our community and for our staff to recognize that this was something that was recognized by our federal government as National Corrections Officers Week. And I stand for any questions you may have.
Any questions for Brian? Thank you, Brian, for bringing that to our attention, and also our appreciation for the staff. Shawnee County Department of Corrections makes up the largest budget expenditure for Shawnee County, as well as the largest employer of Shawnee County. And so it is a very vital part of our Shawnee County government, and the work that they do is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Teresa Fisher, Interim Director with the Health Department. I wish I could have been here on Monday to present this, but this week, April 24th through May 1st, is National Infant Immunization Week. And so we recognize that lots of families' lives were disrupted, much like ours last year during the pandemic. And so we just want to take an opportunity to remind families that our immunizations department is open. We are taking appointments only. We're no longer doing walk-ins right now. And families can call 251-5700 to schedule those appointments. Now is a great time to take a look at your child's records, or if you need help, you can also call us to see what they might be behind on. We do all the regular routine childhood immunizations, including the chickenpox and your MMR and your polio and Hep A, Hep B, and many others. So we encourage families to take this time, and especially this week being the Infant Immunization Awareness Week, to get caught up on those immunizations that they might be behind on.
Thank you. Any questions? No. Thank you very much. Any other public comment this morning? Commissioner Rippon.
You know, I was out at Bettis last Monday night and watching some baseball, and the place was packed out. It looked good, and it's good to see people out participating in sports again. There was soccer going on out there as well, and it was just a great evening. The weather was nice, so just good to see things kind of back to normal there.
Yeah. Commissioner Mays?
Nothing from me.
I don't have anything additional to add, other than I hope to see people out at 3 o'clock at Skyline Park for the dedication of the interpretive signs. So, Madam Clerk, our next item.
Item 6, executive session.
There is not a need for an executive session today, so we are adjourned. Chris, I will be back to sign.